We're live.
The Dr. Oba Tashaka Show. Free your mind, and the rest will follow. A show for all who are on the journey to discover the truths about their identity, history, culture, politics, spirituality, and family relationships. This is a show for the Black Freedom Movement and the Black Power generation and the hip-hop generation, including Black Lives Matter and associate activists, all of whom are seeking change. Dr. Oba Tashaka and his guests are dropping knowledge and insight from his successful organizing, research, writings, and innovative thoughts, the best of which have piped into God's mind to lift you up higher and higher. To the bosses, OGs, rappers, influencers, and those looking to evolve from the constraints of misinformation and miseducation to build a foundation for personal growth, love, and mental freedom. Check out the wisdom of the OR. Yeah, that's the original revolutionary, Oba T, who inspired 1 million black men with his rousing speech at the Million Man March, and who continues to fight, write, and speak the truth. Dr. Oba Tashaka is one of the deepest deep thinkers in the world today. A quote by Dr. Asa Hilliard. Dr. Oba Tashaka, then Bill Bradley, was the best leader organizer in the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE. An endorsement from Dr. George Wiley, Associate Director of National CORE and the best organizer blacks produced in the 1970s as the organizer of the National Welfare Rights Organization. The Dr. Oba Tashaka Show. Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
Greetings, viewers. How you all doing? You're going to have a real treat today. We're going to be dealing with a current event topic that's been a topic for African history for hundreds of years, the state of Haiti today, and what Black people can do to support the people of Haiti. And we have a great guest who is an activist and organizer and leader, Brother Pierre Labossiere, who is founder of the Haiti Action Committee. Pierre, greetings.
Greetings, Dr. Oba Tashaka. It's a real pleasure for me to be on your show.
It's a real pleasure to have you because I've known you since the early 90s. One of our best leaders in Pan-African People's Organization has been very active in your group, Aristide Kadiri. And he's the one that reminded me that I should have you on the show. I was going to have you on anyway, but then that just pushed it forward. I said, because it was a Kwanzaa, I said, yeah. Year later, I called you. So
yes, indeed.
I'll introduce you in a few minutes, but people need to know that you're an African from Haiti, you're an activist, and you're deeply informed about the history and politics and culture and everything else about your country, Haiti.
Yes.
The baddest people on the planet. African American culture is the strongest culture in the Western Hemisphere, second to Haiti, because the Haitian people have historical memory and it rests upon the only successful revolution that ended slavery in the whole history of the world. And so I try and be fair and objective. Sure, I love Black folks in this country, but I got to be honest. The Afro-Haitian, the Haitians, baddest people on the planet, and the Haitians are still fighting. And that's part of the reason.
We are one people, one and the same. The boat made many stops. It's in our collective DNA.
Got that right. So I'm a revolutionary. Among the African-centered scholars, I'm the only one. So, of course, I'm going to particularly love any people who carry out revolution or resistance of any kind.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
Haitians, baddest on the planet. So,
Thank you.
yeah. And so people need to be informed of what's going on and get to know what they can do to better support the people of Haiti. So I'll come back in a minute to give the proper introduction to Brother Pierre Labossiere. But first, I want to just do some housekeeping things. One is to acknowledge the viewers here. Sister Coco, once again. You always say Rev greetings. Well, you got a revolutionary here, revolutionary topic. So you want to get some real Rev greetings. Brother Ugawa, who has been busting his butt. He's been doing some stuff that is beyond imagination. And by the way, give me a call. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Then Wolf Manlu makes the point, hit the like button when you come on, family. And any of you that are new, subscribe, hit the subscriber button. But hit the like button is very important. Do that. To M. Jewel, greetings to you. Mahati Aset, greetings to you. See who else we have here. Itayu Brown Heron, glad to see you on the show. Greetings to you. Gloria Briscoe, greetings to you. Tyanja Bean, who was posted, the first one to post for the show today. Special greetings to you. And Sister Robin, hey. One of our real conscious, dedicated viewers. Greetings to you. So I just want to, again, thank people who have made donations to the show. And I hope that we can get a core of people that will make a monthly donation, because this show's cost me over $20,000 out of my pocket over 2 years. And I'm not going corporate. So far I haven't. And hopefully if you finance this show, I won't have to. I've fought corporations all my life. I think that they're the trash of the garbage can. And I don't want to be promoting them. But I can't go broke. Broke is not a joke. So some of you have made donations. Think about making a monthly one. And it ain't huge. I mean, if you make $20 a month, if I get 20 people to do that, that will cover the cost of one person that I pay on this show, who has been working this show for over 2 years. So I appreciate that. What I want to do before getting into the show is, first of all, look at some current events. And the main current event that I want to look at that's relevant for today is the attack in Brazil, January the 8th of this year, on the Brazilian government. And I want to do that. And it also ties into this show, and I'm sure Pierre is going to have something to say about Brazil, and particularly their relationship to Haiti. But on January the 8th, which was last Sunday, a huge number of Brazilians who were supporters of the former right-wing president of Brazil, Bolsonaro, who was a close Trump ally, they carried out a look-alike attack on their government that looked just like January the 6th, 2021. And the president they're supporting had been in close alliance with Trump and is living in Florida now and meets with him on a regular basis. So the basis for this demonstration was basically the same as the Trump people in January the 6th, 2021. They are claiming that the election was stolen. And it was a free and fair election. It was fairly close, but Lulu won. And inside the country, he's been very progressive. And he set aside slots in universities for blacks, 50%. That ain't never happened before. And he did a lot to reduce poverty inside the country. And he had huge approval ratings and was thrown in jail, in prison on false charges, and eventually released and then ran for office. And that's the only reason why this president that lost could run and win. He didn't have to go up against Lulu. So the demonstrations that occurred on January the 8th had been advertised on social media, just as the demonstrations of January the 6th in the US. And a lot of people in power claim that they didn't notice it. Well, the FBI noticed it. I mean, the Joint Chiefs of Staff had to notice it, and they did nothing. There are reasons why they didn't do nothing. One reason is that Trump didn't order the Joint Chiefs of Staff to do it. It would have set a precedent if they had, because they're not supposed to interfere in internal political affairs in the country. But that head of Joint Chiefs of Staff accompanied Trump to a church in the mid part of his presidential election, where Trump waved the Bible upside down because he doesn't know what's up and down with the Bible or anything else. And so he looked like he was supporting Trump. And later, other heads of Joint Chiefs of Staff came down so hard on the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that he had to apologize for being in that demonstration. So he could be present at a demonstration in the context of a Black Lives Matter movement that took him out of the presidency, making it look like the military was on the side of Trump. And once he got his head clear, he issued an apology, and some heads of Joint Chiefs of Staff before it suggested he resign. And the key reason they were concerned about that appearance was that over 40% of the military is Black and brown. And so Black people are going to have in the military a question of loyalty. If you're going up against someone that represents fascism, which most of them do not support. So this similarity in that in both demonstrations, the military wasn't present. But the key thing is this demonstration that occurred in Brazil was larger than the one that occurred on January the 6th. While there's not evidence of them having weapons, as they did in January the 6th, they were violent. And they broke windows. They did the same thing that the people January the 6th did. They went into offices, they trashed stuff, and they took mementos, the same thing that happened in Pelosi's office and in others. And had Pelosi been caught, good luck, you know? So it was three branches of government: the executive, legislative, and judicial. What does this tell you? This was well planned. Well planned. And the only difference between this and a coup d'etat is when you take out a government, one way is the military, if they're firmly behind it, they just take over in countries like this. But the way to take over a government is you take over the executive, legislative, and judicial. And the key thing is the military. So here they didn't have the arms to do it, but it was a statement. And the fact that the military wasn't there was a statement because they knew they would be there. And that's a statement to Lulu, telling him that he better be careful because there's a big movement out there that's going to give him trouble. And if the military sides with it, there's going to be real trouble. So this attack was aimed against the victorious president, Lulu, labeling him as someone that stole the election, just as the January 6th thing was aimed at Biden. And the presidential election in which Biden won had the largest turnout in presidential elections in over 100-year history. And blacks played a big part in that. You hear me? So, so these are similarities. They, like the January the 6th protesters, they also said, we want our country back. Uh-huh. Now, in this country, this meant white people. They wanted it white back. Because
Yes.
really the theft of the election meant that blacks were allowed to vote. That's stealing, because in their mind, we're mud people. That's the term the right wing uses for black, brown, red, and yellow people. We're not people, and we shouldn't even be voting. And so notice what's happened since January the 6th, 2021. All kinds of restrictive voting legislation has been passed across the United States. And in spite of that, the Senate didn't shift. The House did, but barely. But it indicates that this is a red flag to make these kinds of moves. And note, the Democratic Party has been largely silent on disenfranchisement through legislation, requiring voter ID. In fact, I pointed this out in a previous show. Tracy Abrams had to actually sign off, she felt she had to, on voter ID, who ran for governor in Georgia, because 80% of the American people say it's all right. Well, that's 80% of white people.
Mm-hmm.
Black people ain't saying that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I have to explain to some black people why voter ID, there are a few who are confused, is disenfranchisement, because they're asking for the kind of ID black people don't have, students don't have, brown people don't have, and can't get because they're too poor. They don't have cars. They can't go to the places where you get the ID. And there's been a whole bunch of other stuff being done. But the point is, this is very similar. Just like Trump, Bolsonaro took a long time to respond, 5 hours. And that's almost the time that Trump took. Now, Trump finally said, go home. Bolsonaro, what he did is he said he had enacted legislation benefiting the poor. I would say the only legislation he enacted was none or poor. They didn't enact any legislation for the poor. And then, of course, he had people taking the same position as Trump, that COVID-19 was a myth, and telling them to take bleach as a cure. And in fact, he took loads of bleach and distributed it among his supporters. Well, I hope he took some. Trump was too smart to. Trump took a shot and then told people it was a myth and nearly died on TV, because even after he took the best shots they had, he nearly died. But they pumped him full of so many steroids that he could get back and run for president, And, a COVID-19 that's not supposed to exist, he took a shot for, but you got plenty of right-wing whites and a few confused blacks, some of which are confused for a good reason, because the government has carried out experiments on us. But in this particular case, give me a break. Wear a mask, and wear it now. Pierre and I ain't wearing no mask because we're in front of our, computers. So I ain't going on nothing but science on this one. You hear me? So the point is, this was a repeat of something that happened in the US, and it indicates that in the case of Brazil, there's going to be some rough and tough struggles going on as Lulu tries to implement some policies for the poor, for the environment. But inside this country, it's a very important historic moment. It's a part of the decline of the US. It's an indication that with the rising numbers of black, brown, red, and yellow people, whites will soon be a minority in this country, and they are afraid to death. And all I can say is, what makes you sad makes me glad. I'm paraphrasing Malcolm X, by the way. I don't want to take credit for his great poetry. So that's the background. I just want to say one other thing. The head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was head then on January the 6th, 2021, his comment that he had made while he was observing the takeover was, he said, this looked like a Reichstag moment. The Reichstag is in Germany, where Hitler had been legally put into office, but they burned the Reichstag and they're blaming it on the Jews. And this was the beginning of a move of fascism inside of Germany. And the reason he said that is he saw a lot of the demonstrators in January the 6th wearing Nazi paraphernalia. You hear me? And of course, even those that consider the Nazis not American fascists enough, like Steve Bannon, who, by the way, is close to Bolsonaro's son, by the way. They are still fascists. I call them new fascists, principal advisor of Trump. So this is background for this discussion today. And for some of you that only seem to like the African history shows and turn off on the politics, remember this: we use the past to change the present. You know what I mean? Whether it's your mindset or anything else. So let's get in to today's show, the topic of which is the state of Haiti today and what Black people can do to support the people of Haiti. So I want to introduce Pierre Labossiere, who is co-founder of the Haiti Action Committee and the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, which is suggesting that they're doing both political and material support for the people of Haiti. Very important. Pierre was born in Haiti. He moved to New York City in 1970, and he lives where I'm living, Oaktown, Oakland, California. And by the way, he is a member of the ILWU, International Longshoremen and Warehousemen's Union. Pierre, my father, was a member of the ILWU.
Powerful.
From the 30s, he retired around 1970. And he took part in the general strike, you know, and that general strike brought Blacks into the union in heavy percentages. Yes. Pierre moved to New York and then the Bay Area, and he's been supporting struggles for democracy in Haiti since 1991 here, you know, through active organizing. And he also has extensive contacts with grassroots movements in Haiti. He's in and out of Haiti a lot and has a connection with the progressive community in the US because he has allies that have been very supportive of the Haitian struggle. And if you're not one of those, you need to get on board and he'll explain how. And they have also, his two organizations, they have been able to use the media in a way that projects the story of Haiti. He's also, so he's co-founder in 1990, the Bay Area Haitian American Council that disseminates information about Haiti and seeks community support for initiatives on Haiti. So there's a real heavy emphasis on practical stuff that can give the Haitian people support. And this is what he has been particularly involved in. And he's also been a part of efforts to be supportive of Haitians who come to this country and often don't get the same treatment as other people who are coming to this country. From 1992 to 1986, he was an active rank and file member and later assistant chief steward of what I just referred to as the International Longshoremen and Warehousemen's Union. I really want to point out the ILWU has been the most militant union in the US with a heavy Black backing and membership and leadership, and was key in launching the Free South Africa movement.
Indeed.
Refusing to unload goods coming from South Africa. So this isn't just one of your unions. This is a very special union. He's also served on the board of the Plant Closures Project, an Oakland-based organization that informed and mobilized on the issue of runaway plants and plants that are in Mexico. That's very important because that's the effect of deindustrialization on people of color whose labor is being used, who are being ripped off, while those jobs are being lost in the United States. In arriving in New York City in 1970 at the age of 14, so I could clock your age, but definitely a junior to me. He lived there until 1981, and then he took part in mobilization activities against the Haitian dictator Jean-Claude Baby Doc Duvalier. He was the son of Papa Doc, who was one of the worst people that ever put his foot on the planet.
Yes.
I organized death squads in Haiti, backed by the United States. These included the struggle for political asylum for Haitian refugees arising in the U.S. And you know there's a big move to throw the Haitians out. Biden has already thrown out over 25,000 Haitians, and this is terrible. And talking about putting them in Guantanamo, and got them when they go to New York. They got bracelets on their legs. The people who are coming from other parts of South America or Mexico or wherever else, they're just allowed to go free. But the Black Haitian is treated like there's something wrong with them. The only thing wrong with them is they love freedom and know how to kick some butt. So from 1978 to 1981, he helped initiate and coordinate an after-school tutorial program for immigrant high school students and was also an ESL teacher for immigrant adults at a Haitian community center. During this period, he took an active part in the movement to implement bilingual, bicultural education. And if you all had any sense, you would be doing the same thing in the public schools for your so-called Ebonics, which is a Niger-Congo Bantu language, which is very similar in French, called Creole. It's a very same thing. But some of us are so confused on our culture that when we tried to do this, there was a brother, he's still alive, Oscar Wright, who's a brother who organized with me in the 80s and 90s. He's about 96 years old now. When he pushed that initiative through the Oakland Public Schools, we had people like Jesse Jackson coming out, who speaks Ebonics, who can't say you all. It's got to be y'all coming out saying that he's opposed to Ebonics and he don't know how to speak anything else. You know what I mean? And all he was trying to do was tap bilingual money for Black students so they could also get some pride in their own language, which, by the way, is what is coming out of hip hop. You hear me? The final thing I want to say is this. He has a relevant education, very relevant, because coming from a country that needs the support that it hasn't got since the Haitian Revolution, agriculture is the foundation of it. He's got a BS in agronomy from the University of Maryland, College Park, 1977. That's a relevant degree. That's telling you his head's on the ground. More of our leaders should have educations that fit the needs of our people. You know what I mean? So, Pierre, and for the viewers, I'm really proud of you and the work that you've done for our people and for the people of Haiti. And it always puts a smile on my face when I see you or see your work. So you're a good representative. In fact, you're a great representative of a great people, the Haitian people. So,
well, thank you very much, Dr. Tshaka. Thank you so much. And I can say that to you as well, the work that you've done, the books that you have written, The Art of Leadership and other books. And I've heard you speak many times, and the work that you have described that people know about what you have done is so inspiring. So thank you so much, and we'll be working together towards the betterment of our people.
Right on. And we need to do more to come up with strategies and programs to support the Haitian people, because of all the people in the Caribbean, they're the ones that get the worst treatment deliberately, because they're the ones that the West doesn't want setting an example for African people throughout the world, which is an example of resistance, not of subservience. So this is going to be a real pleasure. So
Thank you.
So what this is going to do is, Brother Pierre and I will have a conversation heavily weighted towards him. He's the expert on this. And it's going to give you a background of some things in Haiti's past that I haven't covered, that most of you don't know, so that you can better understand what's going on now. And that's a part of the approach that I use all the time, is make the past serve the present. And so that's the way it's going to start. So we want to start first with a comment by the former president of Haiti, Brother Aristide. You want to say a few things about Aristide before I show this film right here?
Yes, definitely. The video you are going to show is of President Aristide's return from exile, 7 years of exile in South Africa. And I'm glad that you mentioned January 6th in the US and what we saw in Brazil on January 8th. Many people do not know that Haiti too, there was a January 6th in 1991. President Aristide and a young priest of 37 years old was overwhelmingly elected by the people of Haiti. They had drafted him to run for office. He was a priest, he was doing great work, and people said, you got to run for office as president. So despite all of the terrible things that they did so that he wouldn't run for office, or they did to his supporters, such as bombing political meetings and rallies, still President Aristide won massively, overwhelmingly. In the field of 11 candidates, he received 67% of the vote.
Wow.
And so, and what I could go on and on about him, but what about him was so fascinating is that he had pledged to run on a people's agenda, which means to make life better for the majority of the population, which has been impoverished, and we'll get into the impoverishment of our people. And he won massively. And this was a major, major thing, an earth-shattering thing for us in Haiti at the time. And so what we saw is that on January 6th, he was supposed to take the oath of office on February 7th. But on January 6th, there was a coup where the Tonton Macoutes, Duvalierists, took over the palace, very similar to January 6th, with preventing President Biden from taking office, very similar to what happened in Brazil. And people in Haiti just poured out of their homes. And it caught the people who were doing this coup. They were so surprised by this massive uprising of the population that the coup failed, and President Aristide was able to take the oath of office. 7 months later, Bush, the father, who was president of the US, organized a coup against President Aristide, because what they had seen is that he was serious in implementing a people's agenda. In other words, he was not making empty promises, saying, vote for me and I'll set you free. And then once he gets in there, it's business as usual, meaning corruption. They saw that in those 7 months, he was determined to carry out and implement a people's agenda. So he was removed from office, and he spent 3 years in exile from September 1991 or early October 1991 up until mid-October 1994. His term of office is for 5 years. He only stayed in office 7 months the first time, and then a mere 14 months afterwards. So the US refused, and a number of big countries refused to allow him to regain the 3 years that was stolen from him as a result of the coup d'etat. But we can show this video now. And this was his return from the second coup that he went through that he suffered in 2004. So this video is about the return from the second coup when he spent 7 years in exile in South Africa.
Okay, let's look at that.
In a joyful moment last March, Haitians welcomed home from exile their most popular political leader, President Aristide. Upon arrival, he spoke to the country from the airport.
In 1804, the Haitian Revolution marked the end of slavery. Today, may the Haitian people mark the end of exile and coup d'etat, while peacefully we must move from social exclusion to social inclusion. Once again, thanks from the bottom of our hearts. Sœurs, frères, sous tes capons jetés tout suprême, vous t'attendez que je la batte. Vous t'attendez que je lui a chanté une mélodie de consolation pour Haïti. Haïti, maman, qui a besoin de respirer oxygène dignité pour la honte qu'a tout fait.
Today is a great day for us because once again the Haitian people have triumphed in their struggle for democracy.
And so we're waiting here for him to come home. I'm on the board of the Aristide Foundation for Democracy, and we're hoping he can come back and reinvigorate all of the educational programs that we've undertaken there over the last 15 years since the foundation was created.
You see what happens when you win a revolution. It never goes away. It's in your blood and your bones and your relationships.
Somos los representantes del grupo de los médicos que empezaban aquí en Haití, en la Universidad de la Fundación Aristide en el 2001. Le decimos al presidente bienvenida y que mientras que él estaba en África, estábamos aquí estudiando, allá en Cuba estudiando, ahora estamos aquí en Haití trabajando.
Today, that we commemorate this day that Aristide's come back, that we are also to have the cement between us, that we could do good in Haiti.
So today is a great day for us, for everybody to get the comeback of the president of Haiti.
For the vast Haitian majority, this was a day of joy and celebration for the return of the president and the most prominent voice in Haiti's popular democratic movement. One man in the crowd summed up the day this way.
Listen, we are a little people. We do to make it a great story.
Beautiful. You want to make any more comments on that?
Very briefly, it wasn't easy for his return. The first time as well, it was a big struggle and many people lost their lives. The first coup cost at least 5,000 Haitians their lives. The second coup, 10,000 Haitians. And what was the crime? Their crime was to demand the right to vote. Their crime was what Black folks in the southern US and in down south and up north in the US had demanded the right to vote. That's what the people of South Africa had demanded, the right to vote, an end to apartheid in South Africa, an end to segregation in the US. And in Haiti, we call it exclusion. That's what it is. It's basically the same thing, excluding the majority, because to the Europeans, many of them, the European powers, the colonialist powers, we are not human beings. We are 3/5 of a human being. And so the right to vote is not something we should have access to. We were brought here, we were kidnapped and brought here to be beasts of burdens. And President Aristide said no. Same as Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Mandela, and so many others. They said no, we are not going to tolerate that. They were the spokespeople for people's movement. And so this was another victory, his return to Haiti, because, again, so many lost their lives. And the struggle goes on.
Yeah, and one man, one woman vote means that the people run the thing if it's a fair vote.
Precisely.
The U.S. that claims to be for democracy is really for hypocrisy. And that last thing they want, they love installing dictators or puppets. And if they can get a puppet elected, fine. But they don't mind imposing them through force all over the world.
Precisely.
Just briefly, what were a few of the achievements of Aristide?
Oh man, there are so many, and they continue to be. One thing that the Lavalas, President Aristide is the leader of the Famille Lavalas political organization. What Lavalas means, and it spells Lavalas. It means flood. There is a song in Haiti that says, each one of us is a drop of water, but all together we form a flood, a cleansing flood. And you see that same message also from the Bible, and also in Dr. King's, the memorial to Dr. King, talking about a mighty flood, mighty waters for justice, a mighty stream. I forgot, it escapes me, the actual passage. And you see that, and so that's what Lavalas is. So for me, Lavalas, it means the Lavalas family. And basically, it's a movement of our people to complete the promises of the Haitian Revolution. The Haitian Revolution initially, by our kidnapped foremothers and forefathers, it was about not only breaking the chains of slavery, but it was also for us to recreate the life we had as a people in Africa when we were living in wholesome communities and living in dignity, having access to healthcare, to education, to food, to shelter, and the dignity of being free human beings. And when, after we struggled in Haiti and we were successful in getting the revolution accomplished, which was to throw away those racist colonialists, then the promise of the economic promises were not realized. The promise of equality in a nation of men and women being equal to each other were not realized because the colonialists continued their attacks and used Uncle Tom Haitians among us to attack the nation and undermine the nation.
Now, we'll go into that. List some of the things that Aristide achieved in office at various times.
Yes, schools, for example, major builder of schools, under President Aristide's term of office, the second term was only 3 years. And the first term was, as I mentioned earlier, barely, 21, maybe 23 months out of a total, it was supposed to be 5 years. He built more like, and I'm trying to remember the figures, close to 125 schools, primary schools, and about 105 high schools. Now, the location of these were in the rural areas, places that never had schools before, because the few schools that there were in the past, about 30 of them, were located all, and I'm talking high schools here, were located all in the cities. The university, it was one university, and you had to send your children to Port-au-Prince, and you had to know somebody in order to get a seat at the university. Now, under President Aristide, he started pushing for more universities to be built in Haiti, and that's how he started what is today UNIFA, the University of the Aristide Foundation. Hospitals and clinics were being built. All of this money was coming from tax money that now, because he had put an end to corruption, the taxes that people were paying were being used to build those the schools. Not only schools, but you had road construction. Under President Aristide, a number of roads were being built in the countryside of Haiti, so that the Haitian farmers, when they produce their fruits, the vegetables and what have you, they had good roads to bring those foods to market, to the population in the cities. That was a major achievement. And there is a video I saw which is powerful, and it shows a road being cut for the first time through some mountainous regions that before never had a road. And the people operating the heavy equipment were women. You had women operating the big equipment that was busting the mountains, and people were amazed. And I was going to Haiti during that time, and I saw women being involved in construction jobs that they never had before. So on the issue of the role of women being senators, being members of the chamber of the House of Parliament, there was an explosion of women in those high offices. Also women leading various departments and what have you, being in leadership roles in government. So there was a movement under President Aristide to build sources of clean drinking water for people, making water accessible, not only in the countryside, but also in the cities, where in many poor communities, people didn't have clean drinking water. There was also, under President Aristide, he restored diplomatic relations with Cuba, because the dictatorship of Papa Doc Duvalier had broken all diplomatic relations with Cuba to please the US. And so President Aristide restored diplomatic relations with Cuba, and there was an exchange where Cubans would send doctors to help and work in Haiti, and young Haitian students were going to Cuba to study medicine and nursing. And the Cubans they were the first to be part of the faculty of what is today UNIFA, the University of the Aristide Foundation. So on a number of things, for example, there were many lakes that were built, that were constructed, natural lakes, bodies of water, reservoirs that were stocked with fish, so that people could have access to seafood, to fish, and also to preserve. Those were necessary also as a way to counter erosion, so that Haiti is very mountainous. So when it rains, just like we've been having those rains in California, the water would wash to the sea. And so President Aristide really tried to get that going, to have a system of reservoirs that would catch this water being stocked with fish. Our fishermen were being organized into cooperatives so that they could really have better equipment, better techniques to fish, and to provide good, fresh, wholesome food for the population. Farmers' cooperatives were flourishing all over Haiti, where people would form cooperatives, farmer cooperatives, being given access to various types of assistance, economic assistance, so they could develop their farms, they could produce, And with the roads that were being built, the produce would go straight from the farm to people and not rot in their hands. And they were supported with government support. Now, this was going on in spite of the economic blockade that the US had imposed on the Aristide government. So this, in spite of all of this, the Haitians were using their own resources to build Haiti. And Haiti was being built. And this is why the US sent its special forces to kidnap President Aristide on February 7th, on February 29th, 2004.
One of the things that I think that's very important, because what you've listed here is a huge amount of achievement over a very short period of time that singularly is probably the greatest achievement in terms of improving the lives of the people of any president in Haiti. Would you agree?
Definitely. And I'm leaving out what he did too for the workers. With the sweatshops coming to Haiti, Haitian labor, the wages they were paying were so low and are still low today. But when President Aristide was there, he said, no, our people cannot live off of that little bit of money. And so he doubled on 2 occasions. He doubled the minimum wage. Well, one occasion he doubled it. The second time he wanted to double it, but given the opposition from the US and US sweatshops and other people who were dealing with sweatshops in Haiti, it came close to being doubled, but it was pretty high. In addition to that, schools, I know you are in education. Schools was a big concern of the Lavalas government. And so what they did was they subsidized schools for the students. Even those at 70%, they paid the tuition, 70% subsidy. Schools, uniforms, and books were subsidized heavily so that people could go to school. Then the government of President Aristide launched a massive campaign of literacy. And this campaign of literacy was aimed at the adults so that people who could learn how to read and write, and hundreds of thousands learned to read and write. And this was done in a way that was very clever. They had set up what is called Alpha Resto. Alpha means alphabetization or literacy. That's the term. Resto is a restaurant. So people with minimal amount of money, you could get a good meal while after you eat, then you are ready to learn, to study, to learn how to read and write. And the whole country was loaded with those Alpha Restos. And it was very popular. And it was a way too for the government to buy produce from the peasants, what was being produced, and to make it available to the population. So the country was really, we were not there yet, but we were really on our way by leaps and bounds. And this is what was stopped with the coup d'etat of February 29, 2004.
Yeah, your point about giving food to kids who are going to school and they need it afterwards, that's a problem in the US. A lot of kids are going to school hungry. The Black Panther Party Breakfast for Children program is the primary reason that in the US they began to provide some kind of food in the public schools. But that's crucial. But I think one of the key things about Aristide that's important is, in my book, The Art of Leadership, Volume 1, I put forward a definition of leadership that comes out of African and African-American traditions. And it is that leaders are the mouthpieces of the people's just will. And Aristide was a model of the people's just will, because you can't just say all people, because some of them are corrupt. They're in the elite. But it's the just will of the people. And he was carrying out what the people wanted. And some people say, oh, he's a Catholic. Who cares? If you are committed to the people, whatever your religious, who cares? Look at Barbados, the prime minister of Barbados. She has her personal lifestyle. She's the best prime minister they've ever had. People forgot about what their personal issues were with her because she was implementing, and to this day is implementing policies in the best interest of her people. And she's thinking way ahead, as Aristide and his people did. So, I think that this introduction in terms of Aristide is extremely important because it really shows what the Haitian people or any people can do when their leaders serve what they want. And are not imposing somebody else's will on them.
That's correct. That is correct. And we have all of this listed for your audience. We have a booklet, the Haiti Action Committee published in booklet form, a little brochure about maybe 24 pages. It says, "We will not forget the achievements of Lavalas in Haiti." And it's on our website, HaitiSolidarity.net. And it's, "We will not forget the achievements of Lavalas in Haiti."
Right on. Now, before getting into the current situation, and to some extent we're dealing with not too distant current situation, we also need to provide some historical background that will give viewers, especially those who aren't expert on Haiti, and most of us are not, an understanding of what really drives the movement towards full liberation and justice and a just society of the Haitian people. So I thought it would be important, first of all, to talk about the role of Voodoo in the Haitian Revolution. Now, if people go back, I did 2 shows on Haiti. One was on Toussaint. That was really to restore balance to the discourse, because Toussaint in the West had been pushed to the side as an integrationist, and Dessalines had been raised up as he should. He's my favorite one. But Toussaint was the most magnificent expression of leadership, military strategy, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that was the purpose of the first show. And the second one was to deal with the culture of Haiti and what really drove the revolution. And so in your view, Pierre, what was the role of Voodoo in the Haitian Revolution and today?
Yes, Voodoo is a part of our culture. It's the spirituality of the kidnapped, our kidnapped foremothers and forefathers from Africa. Voodoo, when those who survived the Middle Passage and on the plantation, where they were being dehumanized, being told they were nobodies, being told they were like the mules, and being whipped and made to work from Kensi in the morning till Kensi at night, to quote Brother Malcolm X. And so it was Voodoo, that spirituality, that kept them going, told them, no, you come from someplace, you're somebody, and reminded them of home, of Languinet, meaning of Africa, and reminded them that they were human beings and they shouldn't accept this. So that brings us to Boukman, and also the co-leader of the movement of the uprising, a woman, Cécile Fatima. She too was a Voodoo priestess, and so was Boukman. And Boukman, his prayer was actually, it symbolized everything. And people can see that prayer. If you Google Boukman's prayer, Boukman Doty, and you Google his prayer at the ceremony of Bois-Caïman. Bois-Caïman was a place in Haiti where all of including the enslaved Africans and those who were Maroons, had come together in a big congress to launch the movement for liberation. And Boukman called on the gods of Africa. He called on the people to reject the images that the whites are filling their heads with. We just reject these images and listen to the spirit, to the gods of Africa that's in their heart, to the spirit of liberty that's in their heart. And that's what, and people made a pledge to one for all for one, and liberty or death. And a week later, that happened on August 14th, in the night of August 14, 1791. A week later, the night of August 21st, 1791, the revolution started. And so you had, and this spirit really made people just confront all manners of death and torture and the atrocities of the colonists. And they struggled on. And they knew that also once they died, their spirit would go back to Africa. And so it really connected the community and reinforced the belief in their humanity and the belief that they were not on this earth to accept indignities and to be killed and to be mistreated. The tortures were abominable, some of them, and people probably have read a lot about the tortures that were taking place. Life expectancy for an enslaved African was about 10 years because of the brutal condition. People talk about Haiti was the richest of France's colonies, not just France, but the richest of all the colonies in the Americas at the time, including the 13 British colonies on what is today the US combined. But people, it's rich in the sense that Black folks, our foremothers and forefathers, were being worked to death. They were not getting any of this wealth. It was going only into the hands of a few. And so that's what they rebelled against. And it was Voodoo that cemented them. And if Haiti is alive today, still Haiti continues to survive and to thrive despite all of the attacks they have against our people. It's because of the spirituality of Voodoo that continues and that has kept our people connected with their African identity, their African roots, which means really their spirituality and their humanity, and them knowing that they are human beings. It's that culture that keeps us alive as a people.
And Voodoo was like a combination of the African spirit systems coming out of Africa, Yoruba,
yes,
the Nigerian Yoruba, the Asante, the Dahomian, and then the Petro rights of Native Americans that shared the same thing. And as we pointed out before, you can't confuse this with religion. This is a spirit system. And the spirit system says that every person comes to this planet with a destiny that they picked in heaven. And so every one of those Africans believed that their destiny had been interrupted and it needed to be restored because they were put here to be creative human beings, not to slave for somebody else. And Voodoo drew on the great powers inside of them. You were making a comment when we were preparing for this show on Wednesday that it tied them into a power and a cause higher than themselves. Exactly. And it gave them an intensity when they fought beyond belief.
And that is why when the French thought that they could, through terror, put down the rebellion. For example, Napoleon. People talk about Hitler. Napoleon is Hitler. He's the precursor of Hitler. Hitler studied Napoleon and implemented Napoleon's shameful campaign of extermination and terror. What they had, the orders that he gave to his generals, including Leclerc, who was his brother-in-law, who was in charge of the expedition that he sent to restore slavery, what he told him was to exterminate everyone that is above the age of 12. Every Negro was their term, in the mountains. Everyone above the age of 12. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can believe it.
And in the plains, in the lowlands, to exterminate half of the population that is above the age of 12. Because they knew in the mountains, it was the Maroons there, those who had escaped mostly. And in the plains were those who were more like still in the slavery of the plantations. And so those were his words. Despite all of these killings, and I'll just give you a tidbit of how Voodoo inspired and gave our people the force to go on. Sometimes the French would be loading the cannons, and the blacks, the Africans, would see that. And a group of them would rush the cannon and put their bodies over it, so that when the cannonball was shot out, it wouldn't hit their comrades with as much intensity. Wow. Because they had covered the cannons. Wow. When you have a woman, I believe her name was Mrs. Chevalier, and the French were terrorizing the population, and they were doing a public hanging, and she and her daughters, and I forgot, and it's reported in CLR James, the Black Jacobins. She and her daughters were going to be killed, and her daughters were teenagers, and they were, of course, they were afraid, they were crying. And she told them, no, it's an honor to die for freedom. Let me show you. And she put the noose around her own neck. You see? So when you have this type of determination, hey, how can you win? How can you win against the people who are so spiritually strong?
Yeah, and because it's a spirit system, you're piping into your powers, which are God powers. It's a people of great nobility. And I see some comments on here. I've been explaining to people how spirit has been at the basis of the new African spirit traditions that formed what became so-called Black Christianity, which was really voodoo put in the Black church. And that's why the Black church is different from the white church. And that's why Blacks in Mississippi and South Carolina and the Montgomery bus boycott and the struggles in Birmingham and the one in Selma, why people could stand up against that, because it was spirit based. So so voodoo was the form in Haiti. It was the form in Louisiana. Why? Catholicism. You could hide your Lao in Voodoo, or your Orishas, behind the saints. But under Protestantism, you had to do a different thing. And so why is it that Harriet Tubman never lost a person and was never caught? The spirit, baby.
That's right.
And see, I give you all the example of why my best stuff comes from the beautiful light. I've never heard one person comment on it, because I know how some of you all think. Oh, how you so you saw God's light, because the Bible says you can't see God. Well, the light of God is in everything that God creates. And so it's in our culture. You hear me? It's in our culture. So it takes different forms in different circumstances. So in Jamaica, where it was Protestantism, yet the people were the overwhelming majority, as they were in Haiti, and you had a Maroon resistance tradition. It came through the lens of Protestantism, but it was spirit-based. You hear me?
And actually, the word Vodun comes from the Fon language, and it means spirit. So Voodoo means spirit. So it tells you right there,
Wow. Now, there's another component to this, and that's in Jacob Carruthers' work, which you've referred to, The Irritated Genie,
yes.
which is now one of the 3 best books on Haiti. C.L.R. James, Black Jacobin, so he makes some mistakes that was corrected by Jake. And then this book, the Blacks who, came out again and had a revolution in Haiti. It's another book on the Haitian Revolution. And so these 3 are great. But in the book by Jacob Carruthers, he talks about Maroonage. And that's where he corrects C.L.R. James, because C.L.R. James saw the Haitian Revolution as a replica of the Jacobin tradition in France. And what is pointed out by Dr. Carruthers is that it comes out of the resistance traditions of Maroonage, and you say some others as well. So could you talk about the role, what Maroonage was, and the role of Maroonage, MAROONAGE, was in inspiring Haitians to resist?
So that's why I started with our people in Africa. Our foremothers and forefathers were from stable societies. They knew a life that wasn't a life of slavery. And when they were kidnapped and brought in chains, all they could think about was freedom. All they could think about was their family, their relatives who had been separated from them and taken away. So they had to survive. And so first thing, when they had the opportunity, they escaped the plantation and went into the mountains, where they tried to live their lives in the mountains, escaping all the time, staying a couple of steps ahead of the colonists who were out to take them back into slavery again. But what developed out of that was the desire to free their comrades, was the desire to free their relatives who were in chains. And so they were carrying raids on the plantation to free their people, just like Sister Harriet Tubman, the great Harriet Tubman, was doing, and freeing them. And out of that develop a war really against the entire system of colonization, the entire colony in Haiti. One of them who are very well known is, there was Padre Jean before, but later, that was in the 1600s, but later in the 1700s, 1750 was Macandal. And Macandal came before Bookman. But in their ideas, and as Dr. Jacob Carothers showed in his book, it wasn't only to break the chains of slavery. For example, Macandal had this vision of freeing the land, as we would say today, to free the land and to declare a black country. Unfortunately, he was burned alive, but he made the prophecy, said, by burning me, they are not destroying me. I'm going to turn into a mosquito and I'll keep on fighting. So Macandal. And later on, Bookman, when he came, so the vision, and to bring it to today, what's happening is that it's that vision of changing the society, of implementing a society of equality, of having access to education, to healthcare, to clean drinking water, to land. Land was the big basis of that, because right after independence, some people wanted to continue, Uncle Tom Haitians wanted to continue the whole idea of the plantation system. So the majority of the Africans say, look, we didn't do all this fighting to exchange white masters for black masters or for mixed race masters. So they said, no way. And the struggle during the 1800s was about land. As it is today in Haiti, it continues to be, because some have the idea, a little elite working with the French, the US, Canada, the European Union, they have this mentality of continuing, of looking at Haiti as a colony. Basically, it's a mentality of white supremacy. It's a mentality that our people are subhumans and they are there to just toil to make, not to get any money or anything, and get the bare minimum so they could survive, but make untold wealth for others, for a small minority. And so the movement has said no to that. And what you have right now is a campaign of terror, just like in the days of Napoleon, being waged against the people in Haiti to terrorize them. They call them gangs, but these are paramilitary death squads, similar to the Ku Klux Klan. And they are trying to they are using terror as they try to make the people resign and to accept the conditions of subhuman conditions that they want them to live under. And this is what the struggle is about today. And the same spirit of the Maroons, the same spirituality of Voodoo, the same spirituality that tells our brothers and sisters in Haiti today that the same spirit that told our ancestors that they are not on this earth to accept to live as if they are somebody's mule, is the same spirit that is fueling the resistance of our people today.
Yeah, your point about the overall goal of the clerk, who was a brother-in-law of Napoleon, absolutely incompetent as a military leader, was to exterminate the Haitian people. That was the purpose of imperialism and colonialism carried out by the Western general. When they faced Native Americans, extermination, 90% wiped out in the United States. Or in other parts of the world, Blacks faced extermination, and same thing with people of color. So that mentality was a part of the Aryan mindset that I've gone into before. And Hitler, while he looked at Napoleon, his major model was the United States. And recent research shows that. Extermination is the model for how you handle Jews, Gypsies, anyone that he wanted to wipe out. Segregation as the model for how they handled us, but also how they put Native Americans on reservation camps. And then the whole model of, performing operations without any kind of anesthesia, which was done on Jews in concentration camps, that was done on Africans in slavery. So this savage model was always the basis of it, and it takes fierce resistance and organizing to deal with that. But the key point that you made that I hope people drop in their heads real straight, we're always using the term spiritual. That's fine. But there's no word in any African language for spiritual. And what most of our historians do when they give an account of ancient African history or current African history and African American history and culture, they leave that word spirit out. Spirit is the key point. And the meaning of voodoo is spirit. That force of God that is within you is spirit. But anytime we have a discourse on that, our intellectuals especially, some go crazy because they've been despiritualized. And I'm talking about Afrocentric intellectuals. So you can read the whole history of Kemet and not get the idea. It's spirit-based civilization, not just spiritual. And these terms, metaphysics is fine, but spirit, baby, is the core of it. Because for Africans, everything is about an experience. You don't have no experience with spiritual. You have an experience with spirit. And that's the power inside of you. And all African people have that. All people do. But we have civilizations organized for that. Now, the other thing I wanted to deal with, and it was, again, coming out of your conversation, most of us don't know this. I really want you to drop this on people. The role of African women in the Haitian Revolution, and you can tie it in today as well.
Yes, as I mentioned before, Cécile Fatima, who was the co-leader of the movement with Boukman during that ceremony of Boakaïman, when it was a congress, really, of all the leadership of the various communities, in the enslaved community and those who were in the Maroon communities. But Haiti had, there is a French general, General Pamphile de la Croix, and I believe C.L.R. James quotes him also in his book, The Black Jacobins, where he said that in battle, the women were more ferocious than the men. Also, during the revolution, you had people, usually the version we have is a male-dominated version. It's the generals are all men and what have you. But there were many of the women, people like Matoya. Matoya had been kidnapped in Africa. And according to many reports about her life, she was a leader in Africa. She had been someone who was also in the military in Africa, brilliant military strategist.
What's her name again?
We call her Ma, meaning mother, Toya, T-O-Y-A. But I believe that there is her name. It doesn't come to my mind right now because we always say Matoya, the affectionate name. But she, according to various sources, she's the one who raised Dessalines and trained him. The brilliant general, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the tiger. Yeah, she was the one who trained him. We had other women, people like Sanit Belair. Sanit Belair was the wife, and that's another thing in the history. They always present the women as the wife of so-and-so. But we who are in the movement today or have been in the movement, we know the sisters through their activism. They are their own leaders along with the men in their own right. And so they are not just the wife and so, which is fine, just like so-and-so maybe the husband of a woman. Like I mentioned Sanit Belair, her husband was Charles Belair, but she was a lieutenant in Toussaint Louverture's army. Now, this army was an army of brave men and women. You didn't become a lieutenant by just, it wasn't a gift. You had to earn your way on the battlefield. And her husband was a general, General Charles Belair. You had other women like Marie-Jeanne, very famous women, who are actually featured. Those two women are featured in stamps in Haiti. And Marie-Jeanne Lamartinière, if people look up Crête à Pierrot, it's spelled C-R-E-T-E-A, and then Pierrot, P-I-E-R-O-O-T. That was a fort where there was a major siege. And she was one of the commanders of that fort that defeated superior French forces that had besieged the fort. And she was given that command by none other than Dessalines. And she and her husband was Lamartiniere. So several, Dessalines' wife also was one of those famous women. Henry Christophe's wife was another of those women. So many, and I mentioned Mrs. Chevalier earlier. So there are so many that are, when you read the literature, you see so many, and bringing it to the present. For example, it's by no accident that, to bring it to the present, that a number of women were being, there was a campaign of terror during the first coup d'etat against President Aristide from 91 all the way to 94 when it ended, of gang rape, attacking women, and the Haitian military and the death squad named FRAP were gang raping women purposely, and afterwards mutilating their bodies. And this continued the second coup of 2004. Presently, a lot of that is taking place, being carried out by those paramilitary death squads. When you read what the press is reporting, they call it gangs, but these are not gangs. These are, because the way gangs operate, they are not out there to chase people, to destroy communities, to burn down communities, burn down people, chase them out of their neighborhoods, burn down public markets. No, they are not about, that's not what they do. But in Haiti, those they are calling gangs, that's what they are doing. And gang raping women and several as a common practice, and burning people alive. This is what's taking place today in Haiti. And many people are comparing it to the reign of terror that the French had unleashed on the population in order to make them step back from demanding their rights, their right to vote, or back in the days of the French, there was no voting, but their right to freedom. So today, this is the movement that's taking place. This is the repression, the terror, to make our people not wanting to be out there to demand their right to vote, not wanting to be protesting against inhumane conditions, not wanting to demand that schools be made available for their children, their tax money. They are not asking for favors. This is their tax money. People are highly taxed in Haiti, but yet they get no services for their taxes. Garbage is not being picked up. Schools are not being provided. The hospitals are not being furnished with any kind of equipment that people could access. And so people are demanding, saying no to this corruption. And so they have unleashed, the government has unleashed those paramilitary right-wing death squads, similar to the KKK, gangs that are killing our brothers and sisters. And when you see Haitian people are landing in Florida, or dying on the high seas, being in the Dominican Republic, fleeing in the Bahamas or various countries of the Caribbean, ending up on the borders of the US-Mexico borders, this is what's driving them out. This is the reason for the refugee crisis that we are seeing, and who President Biden are taking our brothers and sisters and taking them back into that burning house that they are escaping from. And this didn't happen by accident. This happened after the coup d'etat of 2004. For 20 years now, close to 20 years, it's 19 years. The US, France, Canada have led the United Nations occupation of Haiti. For those 19 years, the conditions of the people of Haiti have never been worse than it is today. That's what's pushing our people to leave the country in such massive record numbers. This is a horrific situation. And President Biden should be ashamed of himself for continuing to support the Haitian police, providing them with weapons. And those weapons are ending up in the hands of the so-called gangs, those paramilitary death squads. It's not me saying it. The death squad leaders themselves are saying that. They are saying they got this weapon from the government.
Right.
Sorry.
What Biden is supporting against the Haitian people is the same thing the U.S., Biden, Trump, Republicans, and Democrats support when it comes to oppressing Black people and people and poor people and people of color in this country. He didn't want any cutback in police budgets because the police are used to terrorize and kill the people and keep them in line. Going back to your point about the motives for the Black Death Squad's torture and stuff, and the gang rape of women and stuff, that's going back to the paradigm of the area in which women are objects, they're tools. They are not human beings, and especially Black women or women of color, but their own women when you start with their history, when you look at the Aryan history, so that the kind of torture, the worst, is performed on women. And that is designed to also terrorize a whole people and to make men feel like they're emasculated, so, but that's their thing. But going back to the role of women in the Haitian Revolution and going back to the paradigm for civilization, the paradigm for civilization for African people come out of Twa hunter-gatherer societies. The most civilized people and the largest civilization on the planet were Twa civilizations that go back 200,000 years. According to mitochondrial DNA, 149,000 years. And humanity lived under this order for a good 130,000 to 140,000 years. And what was that paradigm? This came to me from God, by the way. It came from the Spirit. And what did the Spirit say? The just societies of Africa were those where all the males and females were equally empowered to govern every phase of society. All Africans, all people who have this as their foundation, Native Americans, people in Asia, people in the South Pacific, and so forth, that has been at the core of their culture, but it comes out of ours. And so it's a male-female empowerment. So the Afro-Haitian who comes into Haiti carries this. The one who comes into America carries this. The one who comes into Jamaica, the one in Brazil, I don't care where they are. It's at the core of this. It's the building block for Kemet, and the founders of Kemet were Twa, who are Anu. I just had a show on that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this is really getting into people's heads. So the reason that you had African women playing the same role in revolution is that's the same role they played in every aspect of their life. It's based on the Twa model. You hear me? I'm getting loud on this because I don't know if it's penetrating. And that is really the model for Black families. Why did Black families stay whole from 1865 to 1968? Two-parent household, male-female balance. Yeah, we had all kinds of issues in the family. Slavery had done something to us, but it did not break up the Black family. Why? Because we had what I call a twin lineal model, where your lineage doesn't come from mother or father, it comes from mother and father, and where your empowerment is both male and female. And that's the model for rebuilding families, communities, and nations today. To the extent that Africa follows that model, the US won't be looting, and the West, Africa. And China will not be able to just go in, grab some resources and build a road. The majority of those resources will go to the people. That's the model. Male-female empowerment. But I'm the first to say this because it came from God. This is a big, fat breakthrough. And I don't think most people, even on this show, have really got it. I never hear questions on this. Nothing. You hear me? It's at the core of our being. And the fact that in Haiti, the African woman was the fiercest in fighting, well, she comes out of this balanced society. But she's the one that carries life. She's the one in free societies who feeds the people. And when she gets wealth, it goes back into the family. If of the two sexes, anyone has the greatest investment in life, it's the woman. You hear me? And if Africa's going to be free, you better raise up the woman. And as long as the woman is down, the man is down. With white people, they can step on their women. And they were able to run the world. But look at it now. The life expectancy of whites and people in America has gone down 4 years in the last 3 years. 4 years. This country brings misery to everybody. This model, of one group being in charge, in this case, the male, but rich males, rich white males. And if we take that model, as the corrupt models do in the African world, Caribbean world, America, then we find ourselves in the same place. So I just really want to drum this one home. That there was an equality in battle because there was an equality in life. Let's get this point. And that's why you saw all those Black people out happy when Aristide came back, because he was looking out for the people. He was listening to the people. He was serving their needs. You hear me? And this is the key point. This is really the key point that we need to understand right now. You know what I mean? That's the key right now. You want to say anything on that, brother?
No, I think you really nailed it. And I was in Haiti with a delegation in 2015 when Dr. Maurice Narcisse was running for office as the presidential candidate for Lavalas political party. Now, Dr. Narcisse is a medical doctor, and she is on the she's been in the struggle ever since she was a kid, basically, And so we were talking to a man, and we asked him, we said, why are you supporting Dr. Narcisse? He said, look, not only has she, as a doctor, throughout her life, throughout her career, she has shown love for the people of Haiti, but also it's time that we put a woman there who is truly with us. Because he said that a woman as head of household, you give her 100 goods, she'll feed the entire family, and 100 goods right now is not much in Haiti, even at the time when he was saying that, because the gold, which is the currency of Haiti, had been so devalued. But at the time, it was devalued, but he was making a point to say, you give her 100 goods, she'll find a way to feed the entire family and still have enough left over to invest in a small business. And we busted out laughing. And that's why he said he was going to vote for it. But it was tremendous. One of the points I wanted to bring out also is when Haiti was created, right after 1804, January 1st, officially declaring its independence, Haiti declared also the people came together, realizing that they were all from different parts of Africa, because 2/3 of the African population at the time was born in Africa. They came from places like Dahomey, Benin, Congo, Angola, you name it. So they could have chosen to give the land any other name, but they named it Haiti because that was the name that it had originally under the indigenous people, the Taínos, who Christopher Columbus had massacred. And also, in one of the languages in Africa, it means do not obey, not to obey. So on both, as President Aristide has brought out in his book, Philosophical Reflections for Mental Decolonization. So basically, Haiti declared itself at that time a sanctuary nation and said, anyone, any Black person from wherever, come in. And Haiti, once you touch the soil, you will become a Haitian citizen, and Haiti will protect your freedom. Haiti extended that also to the indigenous population because we knew how much the indigenous had suffered, and some of their survivors had been part of the movement too for independence. And so there was this strong connection, strong solidarity, not on sanctuary, but solidarity with people in struggle. And people talked the other day, I was thinking about Cuba and the great role that Cuba played in the struggle for freedom in South Africa, in the Southern African region, Angola and what have you. And I flashed back on a statement I'd seen in C.L.R. James' book, where he said that Toussaint Louverture was, at the time, had an idea of at some point having an army to go to Africa and to stop the slave trade right there at the root of it. And it struck me. Then I put that together with the Haitian government, who, after Haiti declared its independence, Simon Bolivar from South America, came over to ask for help in his struggle against Spanish colonialism. And the condition that the Haitians told him said, we'll join you in this fight as long as you pledge to abolish slavery in all the lands that you will free. So this was from a desire of the Haitian, of the now constituted Haitian family, to see about bringing an end to this question, to slavery, and to bring end colonialism. And so people didn't know where their relatives were. And so whatever they could do to bring freedom to probably cousin so-and-so in Argentina or in Colombia or what have you, then they would do it. And many Haitians, veterans of the war, they had fought against the Spanish and the British. They went back with Simon Bolivar, who received weapons, ships, money, ammunition, and veterans, seasoned veterans, and went back to fight to free the countries of South America, similar to what the Cuban army did in solidarity with Southern Africa. So those are things that, connections that don't get brought out. And it was by no accident that Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Poisser, and others looked at the Haitian Revolution and say, if they can do it there, we can do it here too. Because back in those days, there was a lot of contact with ships coming and what have you, and people were bringing the mention of that. There were many communities in African American communities that used to call themselves Haiti or Haiti. This was the old name, the old spelling of Haiti, and it was pronounced Haiti. But this was to show the connection with and their affinity with the Haitian Revolution. This is what we need today, this kind of connectedness, this kind of solidarity, to put an end to what's going on in Haiti right now, to put an end to what's going on in our communities in the US right now. This kind of brotherhood, sisterhood, family coming together. I feel your pain, you feel my pain. And in the spirit of Ubuntu, we help each other. I am because you are, and you are because I am. So that's the spirit that's fueling the movement in Haiti today.
And that's the spirit of pan-Africanism, of
Indeed.
one Africa, one African people, wherever we are in the world. And in the case of Denmark Vesey, who led the best organized slave insurrection in the history of the United States, he had been enslaved in Haiti. And so what he did, he faked having a nervous disorder and would go into fits and stuff. So they had to sell him back to his former master, Vesey. And when he came to South Carolina, he won a lottery and became free. And because he was a free spirit, he went about organizing the best planned rebellion in the history of the United States. And for those confused people who are running around talking about the only real African in America is somebody who was here, like they just came up here like Bossier, the African in America came, some directly from Africa, some through the Caribbean, some from South America. But the fact of the matter is, if you try and separate the African who came from the Caribbean to America from the African who was born in America, and the second generation of those who came from the Caribbean or South America will be African American with Caribbean roots, then what you're doing is you're eliminating your history. So the people who say that, I don't want to call them dummies, because I'm going to say this: they have fallen for false propaganda, very slick propagandists who are never questioned. Should there be a presence of whites coming from Europe to this country? They don't question that. But they got an issue as foundational blacks, with the issue of blacks coming from the Caribbean or from Africa. You understand? That's what you are. And if you're going to say you were just born on a plantation, that's more than historical amnesia. That's a historical insult. You're turning your back on your greatness. For what? And this gets into the next question. Some money. Reparations.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed. You're not going to get it until you're strong enough to get it. And until you're smart enough to use whatever you get for the well-being of your people. But I'm not against the reparations movement. I'm simply saying, yeah, you get a little piece here, a little piece there. The Japanese got 25,000 for those that were still alive. You call that reparations? They lost their communities. They lost their families. They lost their businesses. They were humiliated in concentration camps when Japanese, when Germans and Italians, who were actually not all of them, but some of them were working with the fascists on the docks of New York and everywhere else. Did they drop them in concentration camps? Hell no. So let's get to another question, and that is the issue of reparations and the position of France demanding reparations as payment for the freedom of formerly enslaved Africans. And what impact has that had on Haitians to this day?
Yes, I'm glad you raised that. This is something that really impoverished Haiti. Many times we see the press saying Haiti, the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. And I can understand many times people are like because people don't know, so nobody wants to be associated with something that's a failure. And they use that propaganda precisely to do this, for people to turn their heads away whenever you mention Haiti, or to look at us with disdain and contempt. But the story is this. After our people defeated not only the French, but the armies of Britain, generals I'm talking about, not just some squadron, and also Spain, same thing. The governor of Spain, Maitland, the governor of Jamaica had to come and sign a peace treaty with Toussaint Louverture after Toussaint defeated the British and kicked them out of southern Haiti. So what happened was the French, in 1825, at that time Dessalines had been assassinated and Christophe was no longer alive. And by the way, Christophe is actually from Jamaica, from Grenada, I'm sorry, one of our most brilliant generals. He was from the island of Grenada, and he took part. Same way Boukman Doty was originally from Jamaica, who led the revolution. So the French imposed in 1825 a demand on the government at the time, Jean-Pierre Boyer, demanding that in order for France to recognize Haitian independence, that we had to pay 150 million gold francs to the French. That was years later, reduced to about 90 million gold francs. But when you calculate, and President Aristide did this calculation, in 2003, it amounted what Haiti ended up having to pay France from 1825. It's the equivalent of $21.7 billion in money, in equivalent in 2003. And President Aristide said to France, you owe us this money because slavery is a crime against humanity. You need to pay this money back because our people had to toil, had to work as sharecroppers. They were heavily taxed so that this money could be extracted from them to pay you. It wasn't the elite that paid the money. It was the already impoverished population coming out of slavery and having nothing, having to work again in an enslaved kind of fashion in order to be able to pay this debt to the French. And the final payment, I believe, was made in 1948. According to some historians, it wasn't until 1952. But there is still research being done. So there was this massive campaign that President Aristide launched on the anniversary of the assassination of Toussaint Louverture, on his death, which was on April 7th, 1803. But in April 7th, 2003, President Aristide asked that the French repay this money. So that's called the restitution, because we know the exact value. There are records of the exact value. Now, there is another bill, which is called reparations. And this is for the crime of kidnapping our ancestors and making wars from Ketsi in the morning till Ketsi at night. And that's the second bill that has to be paid. But a value hasn't been put on it yet. How can you put a value on people kidnapping, torturing you, and making you work for years and centuries and not paying you a salary? So this was one of the reasons. Let me mention that the New York Times last year, I believe last May 2021, did a powerful expose, I think 4 articles about this whole question. A series of economists and reporters, people from different fields came together, and they were able to put together a series of articles on that whole issue. And the French ambassador at the time, who was in Haiti, he made the statement in the article to say that this was one of the reasons why the French joined the US in doing this coup d'etat against President Aristide, because President Aristide had demanded that they repay this money. And he was serious. It wasn't rhetoric. He had assembled a team of international legal experts and economists who had put it together. So the first step was to ask for it officially. The next step, it was going to go to the World Court. As soon as the coup d'etat took place, their uncle Tom Haitian, Gérard Latortue, went to the French and said, boss, no, this Aristide fellow is crazy. We don't want no part of this. We no longer want to pursue that.
Now, often the decision to do reparations, of course, was made by France, but then there were Africans in Haiti that went along with this. It is generally, when this is presented, because again, we don't think in terms of class here too often. Blacks don't. Some do, most don't. So we think Black people went along with this. Who made the decision among the Blacks to go along with this reparations? And were there any within that group who dissented?
Yes, some of them. So first, it wasn't the majority population. The majority population would have never agreed to this. So the President Bossier and his team of leadership, they were the ones who made the decision. And you're correct, because the Haitian Revolution came together. You had different classes in it. There were some people who were landowners and had people who were enslaved working on their land. But because they were not white, they were not looked upon, they were not treated with the kind of dignity and respect that that the whites were treated. And so some of them had joined because Napoleon wanted everybody. If you are not a white man, you would be enslaved, or your property would be seized and you would be kicked out of the land or deported somewhere, and you would lose everything. So it was like, well, unless we fight, we are going to lose everything. So that's when they joined. Now, after the revolution was successful, that's when some of them said, a minority of them, well, this land belongs to me, or this Frenchman was my daddy, so I should get his land, or what have you. And you always have some slicksters, who come around and say, look, this land belongs to me, and he's trying to lie. And Dessalines, what he did, he said, well, if you have proof that the land belongs to you, present me the papers. So he would sniff the paper and say, this smell of smoke. What they used to do is they would smoke the papers, the document, to make them look old. And Dessalines would tear them up. And that's the reason. And he wanted the land to be distributed equally among the population. Not him wanting it, the population was demanding that. And so he was acknowledging, he said they had suffered, the people had fought for independence, and the land that has now been taken over by the Haitian state must be distributed. So, and it's still an issue to this day in Haiti. That's what we are seeing. The current Haitian government, or at least under Jovenel Moïse, gave huge tracts of land to this sweatshop owner in Haiti, just turned over lands to them. And we've had other Haitian governments that had done that. Around 1915, for example, when there was a massive peasant uprising in the north of Haiti, it's because their land that should have been theirs, was being given to foreign enterprises to plant for plantation economy. And so the people said, how can I be without land? And these foreigners are coming in, getting the land, and I'm supposed to be working as a sharecropper or a slave on their land again. And people rose up in 1915, and they got rid of several governments. And that's when the US came in support of these governments, in support of restoring a system of plantation. And that started the first massive wave of Haitians fleeing Haiti. That was the US occupation of 1915 to 1934. And so I know I've taken it a little bit further than the question, but it's to show you there is that permanent class of Uncle Tom Haitians, Haitians who were a little grouping that was pretty rich, landowning classes, and those who believed that they could take over those plantations to maintain the colonial system for their own advantage, never mind the majority population. And so to this day, the movement is opposed to this, the movement of the people. President Aristide is opposed to that. He had set up also a land reform agency in Arad that was taking care of land distribution. And today, but a lot of those so-called gangs that they present as gangs, those paramilitary death squads, those militias, are chasing peasants off the land that they were given, that they were able to occupy and produce for their families. And they are being chased away from those lands. That too is fueling the massive wave of refugees leaving Haiti.
So in part, when this elite, a section of this elite agrees to go along with the demand by France that Haiti pay reparations, it wasn't the elite that was going to pay the reparations, it was the people.
Precisely.
And in fact, the elite got some of the crumbs of that money coming from the people. France got most of it, but you had an elite. And I understand a few within the elite, one who was a leading banker, opposed this, but the majority of them went along with this. And I think this is an important point for people to understand, because it helps to partially explain the role of what you call Uncle Toms or sellouts in the oppression of Haiti coming from the outside. They're going along with it, and they're also helping to implement it. And in the article that you gave me just recently, they sometimes even help finance it.
Precisely. Because they work together with those foreign banks, with those foreign capitalists, imperialists, who get the most of it, and they get the crumbs. We see the same thing with mining taking place in Haiti, where Haiti is a country that's rich in mineral resources, similar to the Congo. But people, this little elite feels that the Haitian people, this is too good for us. We shouldn't have any of the benefits of the oil that's under the ground in Haiti, the gold that's under the ground, the silver, the copper, the bauxite, none of that. It should be taken by them. And the people are saying no. They are saying no to this. They say, look, the land of Haiti, the Constitution of 1987, makes it very clear, and under Dessalines as well, the constitutions of 1805, made it very clear that the land and everything belongs to the people of Haiti. And so if a decision is to be made, it has to be made collectively. Hence, that's why people are saying we need free, fair, democratic elections so that we can elect representatives of our choice who will be implementing what we want them to implement, what the voting process, the majority population wants through voting. And this is why you are seeing, because the population is not accepting it, you are seeing this wave, this campaign of terror taking place against people, and this massive movement of people outside of Haiti. So it's a war against the people of Haiti that's taking place right now.
Now, you made a point, and this point is really important. Jacob Carruthers was the first to bring it out in any books I've read, but obviously the Haitian people knew this, and you know this. One of the three policies that Dessalines put into effect, one was that whites couldn't own any land in Haiti. If you had a drop of black blood in you, you're black. You can't run around here talking about you're some kind of an assimilated elite. But the one that got him killed, and the one that would have been the basis for Haitian prosperity, the same one that is central for the prosperity of Africans on the African continent. And when we restructure this country and in our communities and in the Caribbean. That policy that said, was under communalism, everyone had a right to the land. But under Dessalines' policy, he said everyone in Haiti would have an equal share. That is, the land would be shared equitably. This goes back to this fundamental founding principle of African civilization, which is male, female, equal empowerment. And if the idea of democracy is restricted to the vote, you'll be in the trap of the West. You've got to have equal powers going along with the equal rights of free speech, of the right to vote and all of this. And what's one of the most important powers? The land. Equal ownership of the land. What does that do? That breaks capitalism into a million small pieces and it empowers the people. And that same access says you got to have an equal access to a roof over your head, an equal access to medical care, an equal access to education. And note, the American Constitution gives you air rights. You know what I mean? Talk. But when it comes to any kind of power, you don't get any. And this is the trap of this system. That's why King, at the end, by 1965, he concluded that the struggle had entered a human rights phase, because he realized that you are not going to really get out of poverty if you're going on the Constitution. He said this place needs to be restructured. So Dessalines, I think, deserves the accolades of being one of the greatest leaders in the world, because he took a culture hard to improve on, a culture of sharing, in this case, sharing the air, land, and water, and a culture of equal balance between males and females. And in the case of communalism, he improved on it. He didn't just say we should be able to share the land. That would have been good. You don't have to buy it, by the way. But he was saying equitably. And since he was in charge of the army, he could have the biggest piece, and so could his generals. He was saying he was prepared to commit what revolutionaries today call revolutionary suicide. He was not going to profit off the people. The person I have behind me, if you go back to one of the previous shows, I gave you a tour of my study. One of the great leaders of the Mexican Revolution. He said that when they offered him a plantation, he didn't fight in the revolution for a plantation. He fought for the freedom of his people. And that is essentially, I think, of all of Dessalines' legacy, this is the most important one. If you want one that you got to resurrect, this is the one to resurrect. And it will take some power to put it into effect. But there'll be no freedom without this one. Dessalines, in our culture, we say, was bad.
Indeed.
As in good.
But one thing I don't want to end this interview only on what's going on that's bad, but I want, as part of the resistance, I have to mention that that same spirit of resistance is manifesting itself continually, not only through street demonstrations or what have you, but also people creating institutions, various schools. So you mentioned the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. We support a number of schools, local schools. We support a number of farmers' cooperatives. Many of them are still around from the time of President Aristide, and they continue with their operations. So we try to support them. Community clinics, one of the main ones that we support, which makes Haitians so proud, is the University of the Aristide Foundation, the University of Dr. Aristide Foundation. This school was, I talked about it, it started under President Aristide when he was president, but during the coup of 2004, the US closed it down, and the students were able to, Cuba sent a plane to pick up the students, 254 of them, and they went to study in Cuba. And they came back, as many of them, as you saw in the video. They were talking, some of them are teaching in the school right now. So now the university, when President Aristide came back, he pledged to reopen the university because education and healthcare are very key to our people. And so The university, 2011, September, it started with 122 students, and now it has more than 4,000 students studying 9 disciplines. And I want to say thank you to among the audience, so many people who have heard, some people have contributed. So it's been this kind of effort by different people in supporting the brothers and sisters on the ground in Haiti through the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund and our efforts and other efforts that is really helping out. The other thing that's very important is that political pressure needs to be brought to bear, heavy political pressure for the US to change its policy regarding Haiti. It was political pressure back in the days of our great leader, Oya Tubman, and also Frederick Douglass and other leaders at the time, right during the Civil War, 1862, that forced the US to recognize Haiti because racist presidents in the US had refused, beginning with Thomas Jefferson, had refused to give any kind of recognition to Haiti being a free, independent nation. And so it was this movement of the people in the US that forced that and made that happen. So we need something similar today to force a change in US foreign policy in regards to Haiti, because this business of supporting killers and dictators and gangsters that are waging a war of terror against the people of Haiti. Look, Haiti produces no weapons. We produce no weapons. But yet you have a starving kid on the streets who has a AK-47 or other fancy weapons of war in their hands and spraying bullets everywhere on their unarmed neighbors. Now, all of these weapons are coming straight from the US. This is the kind of stuff that people need to know, and we need to raise our voices in a strong movement to put an end to this.
Yeah, so why don't you discuss, first of all, the core group. What is that, which plays a role in directing stuff?
Yes.
Start with that. What's the core group?
The core group is a group of 9 of representatives of 9 different countries and international organizations, namely France, Canada, the US, Spain, Germany, England, Brazil is in it too, the head of the European Union, a representative, I should say, of the European Union, the United Nations, a representative of the UN, a representative of the OAS. They are the ones, it's 9 of them altogether. They decide everything that goes on in Haiti on a daily basis. So they are the colonial powers. And the figurehead, Ariel Henry, they named him prime minister. The Haitian people didn't vote for him. After Jovenel Moïse, another of their Uncle Tom Haitians, was killed, they sent a tweet and made him the power. And the US keeps putting him in power, keeps supporting him with all kinds of support.
What's his name? What's his name again?
Ariel, A-R-I-E-L, Henry, H-E-N-R-Y. He's the current.
What's his role right now?
Right now, it said he's a prime minister, but the Haitian people do not accept him as a prime minister. There is no legal basis for him being there, other than this representative of the UN, Hélène Lalim, who named him, and then he's been receiving all kinds of support and being imposed on us as if he's legitimate. And all of this is just so that they can have people to sign off on the riches of Haiti, to make all kinds of compromises. For example, one of the things they want to do, when I say they, meaning the core group, the occupiers of Haiti, they want to change the Haitian constitution. The constitution of 1987 gave a lot of guarantees to the people of Haiti, who voted for it overwhelmingly, massively, at about 96%, I believe, at the time, maybe if not more. And so they want to change that because the constitution makes very clear that the lands, the resources of Haiti belong to the people of Haiti. So in other words, the president cannot make the decision of signing on his own and grant land and concessions and gold mining and all of that to people. So they don't know. It has to go through a bona fide parliament, representative of the population. It has to go through debate. They want to eliminate that. So there is a constitution that they have already made, just like they did in 1915 against our people, and impose it on the people of Haiti. And the people are resisting that and saying no.
Now, you were talking about groups that are portrayed in the media as gangs that are organized by this core group led by the United States. And in this article that you gave me, you have a picture of one of them, and he looks like he's been living fat off the hog. You look at that stomach.
Yes.
Look at the weapon that he has.
Mm-hmm.
So this man here is named Jimmy Cherzier.
Cherizier. And his nickname is Barbecue.
Okay,
Barbecue.
So describe his role and the role of these forces that in the media is being portrayed as just gangs taking over. And so you've got Biden talking about supporting an intervention to save Haiti from the gangs, which America organized. But
precisely,
talk about who this guy is and these squads that he heads and what they're doing. And yeah.
This guy is a former policeman. He was trained in the police force that the UN and the US have established in Haiti. Before the coup, President Aristide had a police force of only about 5,000 people. Crime was very much at a very low, there was a low crime rate in Haiti because the police was working with the Haitian people. And so they were able to keep crimes. Also, there were enough programs, schools, and employment for our young people so that, there was no attraction for this stuff. Yes, you will always have elements in society who make the wrong choices, but this was at a very minimum. And so the low crime rate. So what happened was, since the coup, you've had this all these occupiers from the different countries of the Americas, to the exception of Cuba and Venezuela, who didn't send any force in it. But you had all of them, and they were there for, they are still there actually, but in reduced numbers. And so Cherizier was formed in the police force, trained by them. The police force is actually very involved, has been accused of being very involved in gang activities. I don't say all policemen, but quite a large portion of them are involved in those so-called gangs. But this guy is actually, all of his activities have been to repress. He leads a federation called the G9 Federation, Family and Allies. That's how they call it. And it's a grouping of various so-called gangs, as they refer to them in the press, that are federated. They are federated on the advice of the Haitian government. And they were being, and the UN representative in Haiti, Ellen Lalim, who represents the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, said that in areas controlled by the G9 gang, that it has reduced the number of homicides, of murders. When at the same time she was saying that, at the UN, these guys were actually attacking the people of Bel Air, the community of Bel Air, destroying houses, burning people alive. At the same time, the police who was working with them, according to various witnesses, the police was giving them backup and logistical support. The police itself was attacking students at the nearby university in downtown Port-au-Prince, where they killed student Gregory Saint-Hilaire. And so this is the kind of collusion that exists in Haiti. And so people, they will say things like, oh, these are gangs who have no control over them, but yet they are getting weapons. And when these guys, the so-called gang leaders, go on the radio or they brag about, this weapon was given to me by former President Martelly, or it was given to me by former President Jovenel Moïse, or it was given to me by this politician, by this senator, or by this big business guy who gave it to me. And these people are all connected with the government. So this is what's going on. And Cherizier is well known for having been someone who participated in the massacre of La Saline La Saline is a community that has been one of the very poor communities, impoverished communities, where there was a horrific massacre. Some people claim over 200 people were killed, others claim less, but in any case, and this is right there in downtown Port-au-Prince. And Cherizier was one of the people who had participated, who was identified by the victims as having participated in that massacre. And so this is the guy, and he's giving press conferences, he's out there, he is being, and our videos showing him with a police escort, with policemen escorting him instead of arresting the guy. They are there standing side by side with him. And it's a shame, it's an embarrassment. But he is one of several others. There are many others, same thing. The list goes on, and very similar to him. So that's the current reality.
Yeah, this is American policy. America does this all over the world. And when, because, I did a series on the national security state to show how it came into being at the end of World War II, even though America had been engaged in imperialism much earlier, at the end of the 19th century, taking over the Spanish colonies, Cuba and others, Philippines, and others. And so what you're seeing in Haiti is a game plan that they've used all over the world and that they're using in Haiti, and they use in Black communities in this country. Because in order to knock off the Black liberation and Black freedom movements of the 60s, 70s, 80s, what they did is pump drugs into the Black community, as they did in Jamaica heavily, pump arms in as they did in Jamaica under Siaga. They did the same thing in Black communities, where you'd have trains coming into Black communities with guns in them, And so when jobs are knocked out, businesses are destroyed, communities are destroyed, then a drug traffic is encouraged, what the CIA admitted to creating, So this same process. So when we act like, oh, we're messed up, you better look at the system that's out to mess you up, and then you better look at how you counter it. I faced CIA attacks 3 times. My organization, Low Intensity, they ran that on us once. You don't even know what low intensity is. Ain't nobody on this show hardly knows. Maybe 1 or 2. Most of you don't know. The stuff they're running on you now, you usually don't know. And then you're up doing the Oprah talk of heal me. And there's a healing that's needed. But you better fight, and you better organize to fight, because this is the system that is run down to keep you in the ground. And that's why so many Black men are in prison, and a growing number of sisters are as well, to lock up the people who could lead resistance. And that's why so many TV shows are gangster shows. Or some you try to clean up gangsterism. You don't see no heroic shows on what Blacks have done to deal with, resistance and revolution. And, some of the shows, where the gangster wants to become legitimate. He has to kill this Power series that 50 Cent has done, which is brilliant in terms of acting and script, but terrible in terms of the message that is conveyed. And these Negroes who are out here dealing death in the shows, what's their big ambition? To have a nightclub. Give me a break. And you're going to be killing people off right and left to go legit. That's what organized crime, the mafia, has done, to try and become legit. That's how they got Las Vegas, to wash their money. But the bigger criminal, corporate capitalism, came and took it from them. And you better believe they didn't voluntarily give it up, because corporate capitalism runs the army. You better believe when they gave up Vegas, they were giving up money, honey. Hear me? And you better believe they got an offer they couldn't refuse. Your life. Your life. So we need to understand this same process is occurring in Black communities right now, the African world, all over the place. Now, in the case of Haiti, and this show is really talking about strategies for correcting that. But in the case of Haiti, one, what's the popular resistance on the ground? what are some of the people doing? What are some of the groups doing that are resisting this? And then the follow-up question is going to be, what can we do to be of support to that?
Resistance, it's been an ongoing resistance from the time of the coup. I don't want to go way back to the to independence, because that was resistance throughout, and the struggle for land distribution, for land reform has been part of that resistance, but it's continuing. So you have 2004, the coup takes place, ongoing demonstrations in the streets, people organize at different levels. Young people are organizing to talk about the structures of the society, what needs to be changed, planning the changes that need to occur. Many times when things are happening in their neighbors, they stand against it from happening. People establish, as I mentioned before, schools in their communities, community schools. They organize worker cooperatives, even though it takes repression to prevent these from coming to fruition. What I mean by that, being successful in terms of chasing out the enemy and proclaiming the day of independence again, or proclaiming the day of victory. But this goes on every day as people are organizing and bringing solutions to deal with the issues that affect them on a daily basis. So that is taking place on the ground. We support a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, farmers cooperatives, people coming together to restore agriculture in their communities, to keep the agriculture going so they can feed their people and provide for their people. Schools need materials, which is not provided by the government. And so sometimes we don't want to there is no way we can take the role of government. But however, we can support an initiative, a local initiative, where the people feel it's something that's important for them to organize and to strengthen their communities and be an example to neighboring communities of what they can do, then that's being done. And as I mentioned earlier, supporting the University of Dr. Aristide Foundation. This to me and there are other universities in Haiti, but this university is really something that really deserves support and partnerships, creating partnerships with some of these schools, because it's providing an avenue for our young people to be able to learn, to talk to each other, to consult, to plan, to strategize, to have some solutions to rebuild the Haiti of the future. So people can support us in so many ways. I'd mentioned earlier, talking to, advocating with elected representatives. I believe that's important. They too need education, but they need pressure. That's important also for people to do. We are having a webinar on January 28th, which is Saturday, January 28th, from 1 to 3. So in the afternoon, people can go on our website, HaitiSolidarity.net, to get information on that. And I encourage people to go to the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund website, HaitiEmergencyRelief.org. In both of those, you will find information about what's going on in Haiti. There's a Facebook page of Haiti Action Committee, Haiti Action Committee Facebook, and I encourage people to go there as well to be kept up to speed. You see, a lot of what's going on is not out there. People do not know, and so people have no idea. And the corporate media is not providing the information. Sometimes we are getting more. It depends on, these days there has been more coming out, but the way it's presented really throws you off completely. You have no sense of the reality of what's going on. So we try to provide that kind of information in all of those sources. So again, I encourage people to continue this conversation with us on Saturday, January 28th at 1 p.m. from 1 to 3.
Where?
Oh, it's gonna be online. It's gonna be online. So that's why I don't have going to our website and you can register for it, HaitiSolidarity.net.
HaitiSolidarity.net. So you can participate in this discussion. So this has been, there are a lot of other things I want to deal with, but I think that you got down to the core of this, and your answer when I was asking, what is the resistance on the ground? I think from your answer, it's overall nation building.
That's
People
it.
are dealing with rebuilding a nation that has constantly been attacked by American policies. People like Bill Clinton, who
Yes.
destabilized your economy. People like Obama, who, when they have a serious national disaster, bring in the problem as the solution. Bush, too, and Clinton. That would kind of be like a rapist coming in to cure rape. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Obama knew what he was doing, and bringing the military in, which has been the major occupying force as it is. So, one thing I'd say is this, that because you have this core group, and it's made up basically of Western Europe, United States, and Canada, with Brazil in, that for us to really provide the kind of support that can break this, Blacks in the U.S. are key because of our strategic position and effective policy in this country. But you got to have Caribbean support, any kind of South American and African support, but especially Caribbean. And I know in the case of Barbados, they've made some clear statements in support of Haiti. Are there any countries in the Caribbean who've taken strong stands on the position that the U.S. and this core group and others get out and let the Haitian people run their own affairs?
No. I believe that you are correct with Barbados. There are some statements. It's been, I'm trying to be as accurate as I can. Canada was pushing a lot to try to get the CARICOM countries to support a resolution for an expanded military intervention in Haiti. And I believe I have to say that CARICOM at one point was sounding like it was going to cave in, but the latest I heard is that they haven't. But it shouldn't have been this hesitancy. It should be clear cut that let the Haitian people, Haitian sovereignty must be respected. Let the Haitian people decide for themselves and be supportive of the people of Haiti in our determination. This business of continuing to recognize the puppet Ariel Henry imposed by the United Nations and the US, that has to stop, because it's like people don't know where you stand. It has to be clear cut that this occupation of Haiti must stop, that this puppet Ariel Henry must go, as the Haitian people have been demanding. And so that has to be very clear. So that's why you don't see me really jumping up and clapping and saying, long live CARICOM. CARICOM had taken a very strong stand when the coup had taken place against President Aristide. They were very clear. So did Cuba and Venezuela, but at the time. But we haven't seen this kind of determination on their part, this kind of leadership that needs to happen.
One of the things is our strategic location inside this country puts us in a position to have some real impact on policy. And one of the things that needs to be tied to anything we do, like we're demanding reparations, okay? Or we've been key in presidential elections. Biden's in the White House because of us. One of the key demands that needs to be placed on both parties is the demand of the U.S., the West, Brazil, out of Haiti, and let the Haitians do their own thing. And we need to tie it to hurt, meaning we need to make it clear that in a presidential election, this can be a break or make issue. And this break or make issue can be enough of us could defect from the Democratic Party coalition that the Democrats could lose, and make it clear. And it needs to be made clear now. And right now, it needs to be made clear that Haitians should not be deported in mass, as Biden has done. 25,000 Haitians deported since he's been in office, and doing everything he can to see that they get out of the country. And he's got a vice president whose father comes from Jamaica and whose mother, it comes from India, but they also got some black blood in there as well. If you look at the mother of, Kamala Harris, she comes from the dark skin hue, Brahmin, a lot of Indian Hindu stuff, but someone who is radical and progressive. By the way, the San Francisco Freedom Movement helped radicalize Kamala Harris's mother, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We gave birth to the free speech movement at UC Berkeley. And it was our movement that really set the climate for the political radicalization. And it was the Afro-American Association that politicized her culturally. It was that combination. So, we need to be putting some pressure and in our popular movements, link those popular movements to the demands on handoff Haiti and let Haiti do their own thing. That needs to be a part of the popular discussion. And it's got to come from grassroots organizations. And I know you have some in the US that have been supportive.
Very much. Yes.
So that is crucial. Is there anything you want to say in conclusion?
Conclusion, I just want to say thank you very much for having me today. It was a very good discussion. I really appreciate your support, your great support, continued support, because it's not the first time you've been in solidarity or doing things in solidarity with Haiti. So again, thank you. And I want to let people know about our websites, HaitiSolidarity.net. We're also on Facebook, Haiti Action Committee, Facebook, and also Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. It's Haiti Emergency Relief.org.
Right on. Yeah. And,
thank you.
And provide them some financial support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Now, there's some questions here and some comments. I want to get into a few of them. Guy Destin, I need this dude's name. It's right there. Pierre Labossiere, and it's the Haiti Action Committee. What's the other group that you lead?
Haiti Emergency Relief Fund.
Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. And state again how people can contact you, and you're going to have an on-the-line discussion pretty soon. State that again.
Yes. It's HaitiSolidarity.net. That's the website of the Haiti Action Committee, HaitiSolidarity.net. And Haiti Emergency Relief Fund is Haiti Emergency Relief.org. And that's for the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. So the discussion we'll be on January 28th, Saturday, and I believe it's from 1 to 3. And that is, again, by going to our website, you can access the information. So I just want to specify that it's Pacific time. So people on the East Coast, it will be much earlier. It will be, 1? It will be 10 in the morning.
Okay. Lao Tzu, one of our supporters, viewers, real conscious person, asks some good questions all the time. This one is, Pierre, how do we get Caribbean countries to champion the self-determination of Haiti? That
is by raising the issue. I know there is a number of organizations in the Caribbean. I believe that one of the problems is people not having the information. So taking this show, for example, sharing the link with people in the Caribbean, organizations. I know Margaret Prescott does a lot of work on Haiti. And Margaret Prescott's regular, she's on KPFK, Los Angeles, Sojourner Truth Radio. Sojourner Truth. You can, if you Google, you'll find her. She has a lot of good programs on Haiti. She is a trusted source to send information, that kind of information. Once people get that, and also what we have shared with people, then that will start getting things gelling, in a sense, into the ears of the representatives of the Caribbean governments. And that we're sharing that information with grassroots organizations, community organizations, churches, that will be very supportive. If people have contact with universities in the West Indies or universities in the US, who can do partnership with the University of the Dr. Aristide Foundation, that would be so beautiful, because you have over 4,000 students, 4,000 young minds who could benefit from this cultural exchange, and also, whatever they may need, because universities need resources and what have you, different things that will be useful. So they have a school of dentistry, they have a school of nursing, they have a school of medicine, internal medicine, architecture. So I'm sure their guest lecturers would be welcome as well. I don't want to speak for them, but I know from some of the meetings I've attended, those are the things that are very important. And people know what universities need. So I'm sure that would be a good way to be in support, in solidarity with people in Haiti and many of the other schools and initiatives that folks are doing. So spreading the word.
Okay, right on. I see a joke here, because if this person's serious, you're a disgrace. Guy Destin, vive Francois Duvalier. In hell, yeah. Long live him in hell.
Indeed.
This man was a torturer, a person who brutalized his people. And if you're serious about that, defend your position, because you can't. You know what I mean? You want to make any comment on that?
No, not really, because that person speaks for himself basically. And should that person be serious, then that's a person that represents the group that's in power right now in Haiti, because this is the Duvalierist philosophy that is now in power in Haiti, and that the US is supporting to their shame. So we need to make them stop.
Guy Destin makes this comment. No one can tell me about Haiti, and this dude in Haiti are lying about Jimmy Cherizier, or how you pronounce him, barbecue,
Yeah.
So someone who's saying long live someone who was barbecuing people is now saying the barbecuer isn't barbecuing. You want to make a comment on that one?
No, there has been this movement to really, in the US, and we have seen this where people have raised up people who are the worst, who are mass murderers and what have you. But these folks are in the minority, and they support, I mean, what am I going to say? It's so ridiculous and so despicable, as you said it well, so despicable. So, but it shows us that these are the folks who are in power in Haiti. And the killings that are taking place, the burning of homes, the many refugees internally inside the country because of the actions of barbecue and people like him, because of the actions of the Haitian government. To show you how bad it is, for example, when these guys, you have a prime minister in Haiti, so-called, or you have the president, people are being massacred out of their homes are being burned, and yet the president, the so-called president or prime minister, will not say a word of condolences to these communities. But let somebody, a white person, die in France or in the US or what have you, they go to the embassy and extend their condolences. They fight among each other to be the first, to beat everybody else, to send their condolences. See, they have no respect for the life of a fellow Haitian. They have no respect for the life because they don't see our brothers and sisters as being human beings. So people like that are the people who will do anything when the colonizers ask them to destroy the lives of our brothers and sisters in Haiti.
There's a comment by Lao Tzu here, and he says the guy Destin, who is from Haiti and believed, here's his question. There is a possibility that Guy Destin, who is from Haiti and believes that his analysis is correct. We are at various stages of awakening, and he's referring, I've charted the awakening process. So do you think it's possible that Guy Destin is simply misled and is doing what his consciousness leads him to do? Or do you think that he's carrying out policies against the people deliberately?
Well, it's hard for me to say because I don't know the gentleman. And I don't know the man. I cannot say gentleman, but I don't know the man. But I've met people who've been so misled in their thinking that it reminds me of a statement that was attributed um, to that a statement that said every Negro is a potential black man. But one of my friends who had quoted that, when he looked at Haiti, he said, "Brother, I wouldn't say that for everybody because some of them are beyond hope." But I'm hoping that at least people can take a look at themselves. Sometimes when you're faced with the truth, it takes you seriously. When you're faced with the truth, it takes you a bit of it's a shock. So the first reaction is, "Oh, the guy is lying," or what have you. But then there have been so many who were part of the coup, who had demonized President Aristide, who had done all of these things that the French and the US and Canada told them to do. And now they've been publicly apologizing, saying how misled they were, how they didn't know, and their eyes finally got open. And they've gone publicly on the air, on the radio in Haiti, and many of them have gone on the air, have also written on social media to say how wrong they were and everything. So all of that is possible. But I don't want to pass judgment because I don't know the man at all. I'm just responding to his reaction, basically.
And Guy Destin holds what position? This guy that the brother was referring to, this misled, what position does he hold in the Haitian government? I'm asking you, Pierre.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the person. I'm sorry.
Guy Destin, you don't know who he is?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay,
First time I've heard the name.
Okay. Let's see. Now, Guy Destin here. That's who he's referring to. He's referring to the brother that's been making comments. He has made a comment, Guy Destin, that he's from Haiti. He also said that he has talked to this killer, whose picture I identified here from the article you gave me. That he's talked to him. That's who he was referring to. But he's talked to this guy right here, and he seems to have a different view of what his objectives are.
What I can share with you, and I don't want to engage in a debate with someone I don't know, and I don't want to do that. I don't think it's productive at this stage. But what I can tell you is that I've met personally with victims, with a group of about 55 people who were the victims of the La Saline massacre, and survivors of this massacre, including 4 young women who were gang raped by these guys. I've met with them, and they have talked. I was in a delegation with filmmaker actor Danny Glover, also with Margaret Prescott, who's with Global Women's Strike, and also who I mentioned earlier is a reporter. Congresswoman Maxine Waters had led the delegation. Human rights attorney, civil rights attorney Walter Riley was part of it, and also Brian Concannon, who's also a human rights attorney. And I believe that was the delegation myself. I hope I'm not leaving anyone out. And we had met with them. And what they had described to us, what they saw, is just so heart-wrenching. And the name of Jimmy Cherizier came up during that time from the victims. And as well as other names had come up too. So I don't know the guy from Adam, but except that what I've heard and what I've from people who are the victims, and we had gone on that delegation specifically to look at that situation, to look at what was going on. And so that's what I can, and also various other reports that have come out, including a report on the La Saline massacre, which was published by the National Lawyers Guild, San Francisco. And there have been other human rights organizations that have named this man, not just with La Saline, but with Bel Air, the massacre in Bel Air, the continuous attack against the population of Bel Air, Pont Rouge, different places in various parts of Port-au-Prince. So it's not just to mention, he's been named almost on every report by several human rights organizations. So that's what I stand on.
LaShonda Henderson, who's an active community organizer in the Black United Front in Washington, D.C., and a very consistent viewer and supporter of this show. She says, wow, the people were still working for their needs, fishermen, co-ops. That is important to hear, rallying around their need instead of forcing a new way of life. Any comment on that?
No, that's correct. That's how people are organizing around their needs in Haiti. Yeah. And that's the basis of the organizing, and that's part of their.
Yeah, very important. And cooperatives are a very important way to go in economic development and education. A lot of it.
Yes.
Because the people run it, they control it. You know?
Right.
And it's a modern day expression of communalism. You know?
And it's a different type of education too, because I should mention that the movement for education among the grassroots organizations, it's educate to liberate. It's to get away from the traditional educational system, which teaches us resignation, which makes us very brainwashed as Haitians, which is teaching us, it's the kind of education system I was a part of. And thank goodness I was able to, it took me a lot of work to get myself unbrainwashed, so to speak, though I still have sequels of that. And so when people in Haiti are talking about it, there is a whole movement of mental decolonization in Haiti. And President Aristide has written a book which was published in Creole, but it was translated in English, called Philosophical Reflections for Mental Decolonization. That book, soon as it hit the bookstores, it was gone in Haiti. And people have used it, people have talked about it, people quote it a lot, and on the ground in Haiti. And they are questioning all of the colonialist education that many of us were subjected to as we were growing up and continue to be subjected to today. This includes the teaching of Haitian history, how we look at life, how we relate to our people, how we relate to each other, on several aspects of it. So this is the kind of dynamic movement that's going on in Haiti. So when I'm talking about supporting the grassroots movement and supporting schools, this is the basis of it, to mentally decolonize our society, which is very ill, really.
Which I think is a good way to end this. And I want to thank you, Pierre, very much.
Thank you so much.